Hello, and welcome to the John Ark Show. This episode is called A Trillion Dollar Lottery, the Riot Real Estate Development Gold Rush. Before we begin, I want to encourage you to subscribe, like, comment, and follow us. Also, I'd like to tell you about a service called HollywoodIsCalling.com. It's a great service that allows you to purchase live phone calls from your favorite celebrities or athletes or VIP, so check them out. It's something you can do for yourself or as a gift for someone you care about. A live 15-second call is $19.95 and a live 30-second call is $29.95. So give it a try. HollywoodIsCalling.com. Now, let's get started. There's a very unique, aggressive, and sort of creepy financial phenomena going on out there that's never happened before. It's extremely lucrative, unusual, and it's going to create a lot of millionaires and billionaires very quickly. It's called the Riot Zone Real Estate Development Gold Rush. Here's what's happening. As anyone who has watched the news lately knows, all the civil unrest and rioting out there is creating a massive exodus from the high-tax, high-crime cities to low-tax, low-crime rural areas and states. I just read that renting a U-Haul from New York to Florida costs approximately $3,000, but renting one from Florida to New York is about $700. That's because whoever can get out of New York is leaving. And virtually nobody in Florida or anywhere else wants to move to New York. So U-Haul has to somehow get all those out-of-state rentals back to the state of New York so they can rent them out again. So while everybody is trying to get out of Dodge and move to safer areas that won't tax them to death, what are the real estate development sharks doing? They're participating in the Riot Zone Real Estate Development Gold Rush, and here's how it works. While normal people are watching the news to see what's happening in their cities and in other areas, the real estate sharks are watching the news really carefully, and they're also acquiring data that tells them what zip codes and what states are getting hit hardest by riots, civil unrest, arson, burglary, murder, and other crimes, and they're carefully studying the commercial and residential buildings and homes in those areas. Next, they're analyzing individual buildings and multi-unit dwellings and individual homes to assess the following. Are the vacant commercial properties and office buildings something that can be converted to residential dwellings and apartments for low-cost housing? How close is the nearest Amazon fulfillment center? And if there are none nearby, can any of the real estate in the riot zones be converted to an Amazon fulfillment center? If the politicians and the police in the area are refusing to fight crime, then what is the statistical probability that those politicians and office holders will be voted out of office in November and replaced with someone who is very pro-police and very pro-law enforcement? The next thing they're evaluating is the financial strength of the owners who own some of the abandoned or vacant buildings or homes in the area. They're looking for landlords or owners who are in more financial trouble than some of their competition, so they can gauge how much of a lowball offer they can make for their property. The next thing they're evaluating is, have the buildings they're interested in been damaged, broken into, hit by arson, or ransacked? For anyone else, that would be a nightmare scenario, but for those sharks, problems like that make the building even more desirable because they know that insurance companies can take forever to compensate owners, and they often give them a fraction of what the building has really cost them. When they see a building that's been torched or looted, but all the other fundamentals are still acceptable, then they will proceed with the acquisition of that building or property for a fraction of what it was worth a year ago. So what are those fundamentals that they're looking for? Well, the fundamentals are square footage, layout, proximity to the police and schools and fire departments. Those are all things taken into consideration when they evaluate Riot real estate. Another thing these Riot real estate developers love to see are weak, indecisive politicians who are sitting back and watching their tax-paying citizens fleeing their towns or states because of their incompetence and horrific policies. They know that the more citizens and businesses flee, the more the tax base will be eroded, and that means their city services will be compromised, reduced, or in some cases, eliminated completely. So why is that a good thing in the eyes of these sharks? It's a great thing for them because they know that the worse things get in the real estate, the more its prices will go down, and the more of those politicians that govern those areas will be likely that they'll be voted out and replaced with someone more capable at restoring the rule of law. It also means that the worse the city's financial situation is, the more likely they will be able to negotiate better tax breaks, tax abatements, and other deals designed to make their potential real estate acquisitions even more affordable. So, specifically, what are these Riot real estate sharks and gold rush hunters looking for? Well, for starters, they want multi-unit residential properties that they can buy for pennies on the dollar. I know what you're thinking. Why would they want to purchase residential real estate in Riot zones when everyone else is running for their lives, getting out of Dodge? Well, let me tell you. They're looking to acquire multi-unit and single-family homes in terrible areas because after doing the research, they know that about 40 to 50% of the population in those Riot zones is unable to relocate because they either don't have the funds to do so or they're stuck with a job in that area that they can't distance themselves from. A lot of jobs still do not allow remote working for their employees, which means that those workers are permanently anchored in those areas and will continue to live nearby at homes for a while. They're also looking at commercial buildings that can be repurposed and used by Amazon or government agencies or the marijuana industry. Now, you might be laughing at the last one, but let me tell you something. In Michigan, there was a massive 300,000 square foot indoor mall that was used as an indoor flea market for decades. It was sold a few years ago, and it's now being converted into a massive medical marijuana growing and selling facility that will be open to the public. Think about that for a minute. We're talking about what is essentially an indoor supermall dedicated to the growing, processing, and large-scale sale to the public of marijuana. I don't know if it'll succeed or not, but if it does, I suspect it will succeed on a massive scale, especially if the city or state allow the site to also open bars and restaurants with liquor licenses inside the mall. But even if they don't allow the consumption of alcohol inside the mall, then it probably won't matter too much because you can go anywhere else in the state and buy alcohol. So you have to ask yourself, how long before the mayors and the governors and the politicians in some of these other collapsing cities and states become so desperate that they too start converting indoor zombie malls and shopping centers and once thriving skyscrapers into massive growing and selling marijuana facilities. The next thing they're looking at are individual homes that will appeal to people who can't really relocate very easily. Once again, those homes will be more desirable if they're near better schools, police, and fire stations, and of course, nearby grocery stores. So why are we categorizing this as a gold rush? Well, technically, we're categorizing it as a quiet gold rush because most of the people involved don't want more competitors participating in it because that would diminish their opportunities for them. We're calling it a silent gold rush because everyone involved realizes that the election on November 3rd is the big real estate lottery day. Which politicians get elected and which ones don't on November 3rd at the local, state, and federal level will literally determine the value of trillions of dollars in real estate going forward. If the right politician gets into office in November, then that will dramatically increase the price of real estate investments and turn their new owners into millionaires and billionaires. If they properly did their research and due diligence and brought the right property at the right place at the right time, then they're in luck. Now, if the wrong politicians get into office on November 3rd, then the price of property in those undesirable areas, those real estate riot zone areas, will accelerate their collapse and continue to drop aggressively. That we'll see an explosion of ghost buildings, ghost skyscrapers, and ghost homes that will remain both unoccupied and unsellable for the foreseeable future. And that will probably wipe out the investments of any hedge fund or real estate investor or developer that gambled on this opportunity by acquiring it. On the other hand, if the right politician gets into office, then everyone who didn't invest in those properties and riot zones ahead of time will probably lose out on the greatest real estate lottery and gold rush of their lives. There will probably never be another opportunity like this again in their lifetime to make this much money this quickly. The next 3 months are going to be very interesting, so strap yourself in so you can either enjoy the ride of a lifetime or the biggest real estate implosion in U.S. history. So with that, I want to thank you for watching, and we will talk to you soon.